It's very often in the anime community, you will see a topic about people comparing, let's say, the anime and manga, or the anime to the light novel, and there's constantly people saying that, this anime could have been better, or just seeing how the anime completely destroys the original work. We've seen this conversation time and time again, and it's never going to end. It will always be a topic with every anime season, because there will always be a series that should have received more love or more attention than it actually got. And so when we bring up this conversation continuously throughout the anime community, there is something that many of us probably don't really think about. How does the author, the original writer, feel about their work being absolutely manhandled and butchered to such a point to where it's unrecognizable from its original source when it left the author's hands? And this episode of Oshi no Ko gives us a very rare insight into that overall topic. And I think that out of everything from this episode, there is a lot of good. There's a lot of stuff with Ruby, Aqua, Kana, setting up the premise for the story's main theme and plot of what Aqua's doing behind the scenes to try to figure out, who his father is. All these little things. There's a lot of good stuff within episode 4 of Oshi no Ko. But this scene in particular is something that is just really significant, multi-layered, and I want to talk about and really dedicate some time to it, because I feel like a lot of people are going to not really see just how incredible this scene is for what it really is showing to us, the audience. Because even if you have, let's say, not read the original work, for instance, you haven't read Oshi no Ko, everybody that has watched anime probably can relate to this entire moment for this episode. I know I can. And I mean, I'm going to give examples here. Series that I really wish could have been done better, just on the top of my head: Berserk, Tokyo Ghoul. I mean, I would have loved to see, like, a better adaptation of Spice and Wolf and not cut out Volume 4. I mean, obviously, Classroom of the Elite for a lot of people. I mean, there's, like, Overlord as well, even though I liked it, Overlord could have been done better. There's just countless series that I could just think on the top of my head that I wish could have been done better in anime form, that just turned out to be a little bit disappointing or just underwhelming in comparison. And so, when you see this topic, and how Aka, the author, wrote this moment, it's very powerful, because when you look at the way this is adapted, it's adapted beautifully. And I think that is what makes this moment come across so powerful, because Oshi no Ko, I think everybody at this point can see, even if you're an anime only, is a labor of love. There is a lot of love, there's a lot of passion that is outright just poured into this anime, and every scene in particular, even scenes that are very minor, a lot of the detail on the characters' faces and expressions, the animators and artists for this anime are just going hard. They are really going hard for this entire anime, and when you look at just like what the scene is trying to convey, it's like, look, this is a really good anime adaptation. Like, Oshi no Ko, it's a no-brainer that it's very successful, it's very popular, the opening and ending song is making records, people are listening to it continuously, I know I am, and it's just like, it's clear that it's a very good anime adaptation, and it's going viral, people are talking about it, and obviously because of this, when you see this topic brought up with a manga series getting an anime adaptation, and then the anime adaptation or live action adaptation is just outright horrible, it's just like, wow, it's kind of mind-blowing to a degree, because we have a good anime on display here that is showcasing an example of a bad anime, and it's just like, wow, like, just that alone, it's just like, seeing Aka-sensei, the author of, Kaguya-sama and also Oshi no Ko, actually kind of bringing this point up after having, basically, as we can see now, 2 successful anime adaptations, is pretty wild to me. It is. It really is wild. But it is still a very relevant conversation, because the point is that there is probably a lot of authors out there for light novels or manga that get to see their work just absolutely butchered beyond repair, and they're just sat there left in their chair when they're watching, like they're sitting there working on their next script for their next light novel, or they're working on the next chapter for their series, and they're sitting there and they're looking at their work being adapted to such a degree and then being destroyed. That has to be absolutely heartbreaking. But because of where they're at in the industry, and they don't want to burn bridges and destroy foundations, they have to suck it up. They have to not say their actual piece on the matter. They have to keep it to themselves. There is a lot of PR, and they can't really just outright say this is horrible. They can't really do that often. And so there's so many layers to this I just find so incredible. But also when you have these very rare moments, like at the end, where, she's talking about, like, she's heard from a lot of people that, they're very happy that they get an adaptation for their work, but then eventually, it's very shallow. They feel very upset. They feel hollow and sad at the end. But then she cries for this very good moment, one of these very powerful and impactful moments that gets adapted, and it's done very well, which is the scene Aqua did, and she starts to cry, and she says that she's very happy got, an anime adaptation. And this is very interesting because the whole topic of the matter here is that this little great scene that Aqua did, it didn't make the series go viral. It was made case in point literally after that. It was circulating around smaller circles, it garnered passion and praise, but overall, it wasn't viral, it wasn't popular, but it still was technically accepted. At least the ending of the show was accepted to be very good. And so, because of all of this, it's like, it goes back into the hard topic as well, that a good ending can really make people enjoy a series. It goes back to just the whole discussion of even Game of Thrones. Like, everybody, loved Game of Thrones until the last season of Game of Thrones, and then everybody collectively is just like, nah, they clean their hands with Game of Thrones. And I know people don't want to swallow that hard pill of, like, a good ending really does matter, and it can easily completely tear away from everything that the series has worked towards if the ending is bad, because, let's be honest, when people think back on a series, they think back on the beginning, their favorite moments, and the ending. And if that ending is really not that good, and it's a stain, it's going to really smear people's overall impressions of the series when they get to that ending. So I think this ending being good, while it had a very bad start in middle, once again represents this conversation as well. So like I said, multi-layered, absolutely incredible episode of Oshi no Ko, just for this moment alone. It is really something that I was, honestly not expecting to go so hard. Like, I know that the anime's been doing really good, but just like the way this scene was adapted, it really brought to life a conversation that is very important and not a lot of people really talk about. Well, people talk about the subject, they just don't talk about it in this level of detail. It's very unique seeing it from, let's say, an author and an animation studio discussing this, because it is very important, because we get to see another POV that we normally just do not get to see. Now, besides that, I guess let's get into the other content of the episode. So, we have the whole situation with, Aqua actually, doing his part and getting to have the final episode. This entire moment, basically, where you see him kind of take the stage and play this villain-like character, it's absolutely incredible. It's a legitimately good moment to see just Aqua's level of character, like, his acting skills and all that, and he's constantly degrading himself. Like, you see by the way he just presents himself, he's literally degrading his very nature as a actor. He says he's not that good, but he will use every skill that he knows of, for instance, like, working the camera angles, to the lighting, etc., all his experience, what he's learned, he's going to use this to his advantage. But at the end of the day, that does mean he's a good actor. It's just, it's just so, he puts himself down so much. He does not think highly of himself, at least as a skill of an actor, and you can see that with his very personality. He has a very gloomy personality, even though it's very clear he does have some talent to a degree, he just does not want to admit it. Now, another thing that makes this very powerful as well, is that we get this whole stuff with, basically Aqua making a deal, with this director and all that. He's gonna have some new plans to return and all that, do some more work, so the door is opening up for him to continue working as an actor and discovering exactly who his father is. But it's not just that as well. We also have the stuff with, Kana. We get to see a little brief scene literally with her and Aqua, and it's very beautiful too, because it's clear now that she is developing some form of crush with him, which that is something to debate and talk about, because at least with the first time we saw her, like for instance in episode 3 and episode 1, all that, she didn't really have a crush with him at all, but it's clear she is developing something towards him, because it's like he rekindled her love for the industry, rekindled her love to want to be in the entertainment industry, be an actor, and participate, he did that for her. And I think this entire opening segment as well with, Kana getting to find out a little bit more about her. She's talking about her feelings and how she's been clinging on to this waning, popularity is also extremely powerful. This is another subject matter that is done so well that it actually, once again, it astounds me because Kana, she realizes that her level of popularity has waned considerably. She used to be very popular as a kid, and regardless of whatever circumstances happen, if it was thanks to her attitude or whatever that was completely outside of her control, the point is that she is nowhere near as popular as she once was. She is highly skilled, she hasn't degraded in quality, so to speak, but just people aren't as interested anymore. And it's not necessarily anything to do with her or her fault whatsoever, it's what happens. And she has to face this reality, and you get to see this star that's obviously dwindled. She's no longer in her golden age, so to speak, as you can see on screen, and it's a very sad moment, because it's like, people view her as someone that's just fallen off. It's pretty sad, honestly, and it can be related to a lot of people in the world, for anyone that's, let's say, an actor, a content creator, anything, and I think that it's just a legit sad, but a very realistic outlook on a lot of things. I do appreciate these hard topics and discussions on things that people don't normally want to think about or discuss, and I think that's what really draws people to Oshi no Ko, is because of content like this, that it really does shed light on the darker aspects, or the aspects that people just do not want to talk about often. I appreciate it. I really, really do. But, yeah, overall, it's a legitimately good episode. We get, introduced to more characters, actresses, etc. That's gonna probably play a part in the future of the story. Just, yeah, overall, downright amazing. An amazing episode, and even Kana being set up to probably join, Ruby as an idol, so that's pretty nice to see. But I guess I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot. And with that, Chibi out.